The Mighty Blues. My name is, of course, Cameron, and welcome back today to another live stream. It is the live game preview ahead of our Premier League fixture against Leeds United tomorrow at Goodison Park. Everton bouncing into this game after a very good win against Fulham last week. Wasn't a very good performance, but a very good win nonetheless. And unfortunately, we're also coming into this game with quite a big injury to the squad. If you haven't noticed or you haven't heard already, Luca Dean has picked up an ankle injury and will require surgery on it as it's ligament damage, and he is set to be out for around 2 to 3 months. Carlo Ancelotti was asked about this in his pre-game press conference today. It was actually announced by the club yesterday that he's picked up an injury, and Carlo said we're looking at least 2 to 3 months for Luca Dean. So not great news going into this game. Not great news going into a game which I think is for two sides that are very good going forward and can score goals and can create opportunities, but defensively are very susceptible to conceding. And the title of this live stream in this preview is "A Clean Sheet is Vital in this game." And for me, this game will be won depending on who defends better. I think both teams can score, and I wouldn't be surprised if we're sitting there tomorrow night and it's 5-5 or something mad like that, because I think both teams have been very similar at the start of this season already. Everton have been a little bit better at doing it because we've got the results, but both teams have been similar in the case of that defensively. We just leak far too many goals, but going forward we can create as well. So this has got the makings to be a really interesting game of football, certainly for the neutral, which of course I'm not asked about. If Everton win 1-0 off the back of Dominic Calvert-Lewin's arse in the last minute, I'm made up. But I do look at this game and I think defensively we really need to be focused, because Leeds are a team that can hurt you. I suppose we can take the same from that and look at Leeds and think, right, okay, defensively they're a team that we can hurt, especially with Dominic Calvert-Lewin in the form that he's in, Richarlison in the form that he's in, James Rodriguez as well. Obviously the lack of Luca Dean on the left hand side is a massive miss, but it's going to be a really interesting game, and it's a really important game for Everton as well to go out and win. We had the December fixtures released over the last couple of days or so. We literally play Chelsea, Man United, Arsenal, Man City, Leicester and Sheffield United within the space of about 2 weeks, with 2 days rest in between each game. So it's vitally important that we pick up as many points as we can leading into that December run, because it's going to be very difficult. We're joined by Callum as always today. We're going to go through the predicted starting 11s that we've put down. We're going to go through, talk about the game a little bit, talk a bit about Leeds and their start to their first Premier League season in quite some time as well, after being promoted. Carlo Ancelotti had some positive words to say about Marcelo Bielsa, in today's press conference. He said, you know a Bielsa team when you see one, and Leeds are one. They're very compact, they work well, but ultimately we have to be able to go out there and punish them, and this is a game that I think a lot of Evertonians, certainly off the back of the news about Luca Dean, won't be very confident going into. I'm not massively confident because we're coming up against a team that have shown creative-wise, they are very good going forward, and our defence have shown that we've been awful, let's be honest, in recent weeks. But I do think on the flip side of that, Leeds have shown that defensively they can be an absolute shambles. They've had 2 4-1 losses over the last few weeks or so, one to Leicester, one to Crystal Palace. Obviously they got a draw against Arsenal last time out, which was a good result for them, but he started really well, didn't he, Cal? Very unlucky to lose at Anfield on the opening day. Lost to a last-minute penalty. Got a couple of back-to-back wins. And it was sort of, everybody looked and thought, you know what? Leeds are a side that aren't really going to struggle to stay in the Premier League. You looked at the other promoted sides, your Fulham, your West Brom, and you thought they might have an uphill climb here if they want to stay in this league. But you looked at Leeds almost instantly in that opening day against Liverpool, and you thought they'll do all right here. And then they've just been on a little bit of a bad run of form recently. Like I said, the 2 defeats, heavy defeats to Palace and Leicester, I felt come due to them trying to get forward and create and break those sides down, and then they were just hit on the counter-attack and they couldn't put up with them defensively. But decent result against Arsenal last time out. So there's definitely ways in which we can hurt Leeds United tomorrow, Cal, but I suppose the flip side of that is there's ways that they can hurt us, and we have to be very balanced, as Carlo Ancelotti said, defensively, and we also have to be very tight, don't we?
Yeah, 100%. Going into this, we need a win. It's clear. Like you said, tough run of fixtures coming. I believe we've got Burnley after this, so now we need to take as many points as possible, because then if we can go into those games like against Chelsea, against Arsenal, for example, if we go in firing, I think we'd beat Arsenal, but we're not on about Arsenal, we're about Leeds. Bielsa, we knew they were staying up just because of the manager. Let's look at it. Leeds probably have one of the weakest sides in the Premier League, but they're able to get, Marcelo Bielsa is able to get the best out of that Leeds team. and he just makes them work hard. Leeds are probably the hardest working team in the league, to put it simply, and that's why they're getting results. The position in the table, a lot of people might look at it who don't watch a lot of Leeds, which is, it's understandable, and might think, oh, this should be a cakewalk. This is a team that's probably towards the bottom of the table, where, aiming towards the top, we should be beating them. But it's a difficult challenge, and with, quite poor defence, we can be caught open by those quick counter-attacks. We saw them against Arsenal in a game where Leeds should have woodworked so many times. But, going into it, we just have to be careful. Ancelotti should have a game plan. As shown by the Leicester and Palace games, there is a game plan to beat Bielsa. But is it at the same time, is Bielsa going to adjust his strategy to go against those issues?
That's it, spot on. And I think Bielsa will be coming into this game with probably a similar game plan as to what Carlo Ancelotti's is, and that's make sure you defend against their attack, because our attack is very, very good with Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison and James when they're firing, but be able to go and exploit their defensive issues. And I honestly do think there's two sides that are quite well matched in that regard. Okay, Everton have had a better start to the season because we've gone out there and we've got the results. Obviously we beat Crystal Palace away from home. But, again, like I said, those defeats for Leeds weren't necessarily defeats that you looked at and you thought, oh my God, they've been dreadful. They were games that they sort of just couldn't execute that game plan well, and they ended up getting sort of bit on the arse. And those were two defeats were against sides that are decent defensively as well. Now, I don't think they'll set up like that against Everton. I think they'll set up knowing full well that we're susceptible of leaking goals, and that's why for me, we spoke last week about clean sheets and how important clean sheets are, and I said something, and it sounds like something Michael Owen would say. It's so simple, but if you don't concede in a football game, you don't lose. And if you were to say to me today, Cam, I'm not going to tell you whether Everton score or not tomorrow, but I'll tell you now, you'll keep a clean sheet. I'd put me house on us winning that game of football, because I do think we'll score. But the issue for Everton, Carlo Ancelotti said that today, we still have an issue defensively. We're worried defensively, and we are concerned that those issues are still there. We need to add balance to the team. We need to be as good at the back as we are going forward. Obviously, two big injuries to the defence. Cal going into this game. Seamus Coleman still isn't ready. Carlo confirmed today that he is still doing his rehab, and he's not ready or fit for this game. He then was asked about John Joe Kenny, and he said John Joe Kenny isn't 100%. He may play, and he is in contention of playing, but he's not 100% fit. And obviously we know Luca Dean is out injured, so we're already going into it with a weaker defence than what we would ideally like to be going into it with. We don't know who's going to play at right back, whether it'll be Ben Godfrey, whether it'll be Mason Holgate, it might be Alex Iwobi as a wing back again. Left back, we're assuming will be Niles Nkunku. I hope it'll be Niles Nkunku anyway. So we're sitting here talking defensively about how we need to improve and how we need to stop leaking stupid goals, but we're coming in with two of our key players, two of our main defenders, the leaders in the team, unavailable to play. How difficult is that going to be for Everton going into this game tomorrow?
It's going to be massively difficult, but at the same time, don't get me wrong, personally, it might shock a lot of people. I think Digne is the best player on that Everton team. Better than James, better than everyone. I think he's the best player on that team. I think, I'll say it, I think he's probably, I'm going to say it, I think he's the best left back in the world. Don't get me wrong, everyone loves the Alphonso Davies hype. He's played one season, you know what I mean? Relax. But we've got a good backup for Digne. We've got Nkunku, massive potential. He works hard, he gets it done. And look at Alex Iwobi, besides Dom and Decore, Iwobi was by far probably the best player on that pitch that game. He was fantastic the entire game. He got back and defended, He wasn't the best positional wise, and it did lead to him getting dribbled past a few times. But in the end, he was getting back, he was getting tackled, he was clearing it, he was intercepting it. He clearly knows the basics of defending, and due to his just natural athleticism, it works for him. And I do feel like Ancelotti needs to stick with this 5 at the back system, because it, at the start of the game it worked. It only stopped working because we stopped putting the foot on the gas due, people being tired. Alan was tired. James, Richarlison was tired. We just need to take advantage of Leeds, and this is a game where, to put it simply, we need to put 3 or 4 past them as quickly as possible. Not like what we did with Fulham, where we put 3 past them and we were like, right, it's Fulham, we don't have to worry. It's we put 3 past them, right, we need to put another 3 past them, because Leeds will score. I think Leeds score no matter what. If we're conceding 2 to Fulham, we're conceding 3 to Leeds.
I agree. By the way, spot on. If you look at last week and you draw direct comparisons. Fulham don't have an awful lot of quality going forward. Still managed to put 2 in the back of the net against us, and you're absolutely spot on. If you're looking and you're comparing that to Leeds, it'll be a lot easier for Leeds to put the ball in the back of the net than it was for Fulham last week. They've got some good attacking players. You know, Harrison, a massive fan of him. His goal against Liverpool on the opening day was fantastic. Kelvin Phillips in the centre of midfield. England capped already. Patrick Bamford, who's found his feet in the Premier League so far this season. So you're spot on. For me, this game is about the defence, both Everton's and Leeds' defence, and whoever defends better will win this game for me. Because I think going forward, both sides have got, you know, attacks that can score goals and that can create. Everton have got a very, very good attacker at the moment. Dominic Calvert-Lewin's in flying form. We spoke about Richarlison, James. I thought you'd been able to brought up a brilliant point there about the players returning from international duty and fitness. The first half last week against Fulham was so consistent to the second half. It was mad to think, and I do think a lot of that was because of those players just losing that level of fitness because of the international break or whatever it may be. You saw James Rodriguez, who just tailed off massively towards the end of the game. Richarlison tailed off massively, and I think those players coming into this game will be a lot fitter. You know, they'll have had a week's break, of course. There's no injuries to those 2 players who we've just mentioned, and ultimately that's a positive, because the hope is now that James Rodriguez and Richarlison won't be pulling up on 60-70 minutes, you know, massively tired, because ultimately they've played in an international game 3 days earlier. So that's a big positive for Everton. We look at Leeds at the start of the season so far: 9 played, 3 won, 2 drawn, and 4 lost. Like we said there, a couple of big losses recently against Palace and Leicester. Again, we should be looking at those games and having a look at what Palace and Leicester put out there in order ultimately to go and kill the game off against Leeds. And that's what we should be doing. And I do think we'll go out and create, and I do think we'll score. But I also think Leeds will have that same mentality as coming at us and trying to do the same and trying to create and trying to put it past us. And ultimately, look, we're going to go through our predicted starting 11s in a moment and talk about the defence and who we think will start and who we think should start as well in order to properly shore that defence up. But it's going to be a difficult game. It really, really is. It's going to be a very, very difficult game of football. I'm confident because I'm always confident. And, you know, Carlo's addressed the defensive issues today, and he's addressed that. We understand that we need to be a lot better, so it's not something that is being put under the carpet and we're saying, oh no, we haven't got a clue about that. We're all right defensively. This team and this manager knows we need to be a lot better. So that fills me with a little bit of confidence. And I also think that our attack is better than Leeds' attack, and I think if we can create a lot and ultimately finish those chances that we create, then I think we could be okay tomorrow. But ultimately it could end 4-5-1 the other way round as well if, you know, we have an absolute stinker defensively. Blue Boys Clip says, hey guys, comment, like and share for now. Thank you very much. If you are enjoying, please do hit that like button. Don't forget to share it on Twitter, any social media as well. Really, really do appreciate it. Manuel says the defence will need a massive issue without both Dean and Coleman. We are already conceding too much with them, but without them. Well, again, it's a big chance. It's a big chance for whoever comes in, whether it be Nkunku, whether it be Godfrey, whether it be Holgate, whether it be Alex Iwobi. It's a big chance for whoever comes in to replace both fullbacks. Joe does designs. What's happening, Joe? Joe has done some really, really good work for us over the last 24, 48 hours or so that I cannot wait to share. It's in the form of a new podcast which will be coming hopefully within the next week or so. So look out for that one. Big thanks to Joe. He says, got to be winning, Cam. We certainly do. Philip says, Leeds are a very good side. Great chance for Conkers to step up. You're spot on. El Loco for Leeds. Big thanks for joining us, mate. We've done an opposition preview for their channel. That'll be going up within the next day or so, so go and check that out. They also done one for us, which will be going out tomorrow morning. Big thanks for joining us. But yeah, you know, Philip says there, it's a big chance for Niles Nkunku to step up and ultimately take this opportunity that we hope he'll be given. He played in a Premier League game before. We lost. Wasn't really his fault, to be perfectly fair. The whole team was dreadful. And obviously he's massively impressed in the Carabao Cup fixtures that he's featured in before. So listen, Cal, without further ado, no messing about, let's get stuck in. Predicted starting 11 times, mate. Again, Everton riddled with injuries at the moment. Both fullbacks out injured. Discussion regarding centre-halves and defensive issues. I'll go with my goalkeeper and back 4-5, whichever it may be, and then you can go with yours, and then we'll do the same midfield forward line. You know how it works by now. If you're enjoying, leave a like, share the stream. Let's get as many people in as possible. So in goal, I've gone for Jordan Pickford. I usually sit here every week and say it's Jordan Pickford. It's going to be Jordan Pickford. We know that, but every time I've sort of heard Carlo Ancelotti talk about Robin Olsen, he said, no, Robin Olsen will play again. We don't know when he'll play, but he will play again. So I'm confident Jordan Pickford will start in this game. He wasn't at fault for me last week against Fulham for either of the goals. But there's always that inner thought of maybe he'll just throw Olsen in there just to mix it up a little bit and just to give him another chance. But I think it'll be Jordan Pickford. I've gone for a back five in this game. Carlo went for a back five last week against Fulham. It worked for the first half. We were absolutely brilliant. The fullbacks worked fantastically well. Iwobi was great. Luka Dean was great on the other side. Second half, like Cal mentioned, we just fell off a mountain, but I don't think any formation would have stopped that. So I've gone for a back five. I've gone for Niles Nkunku at left back. Now, I might say this, and people might say, well, obviously he's going to play left back as Dean's out, and who else is to go in there? But I absolutely hope that Niles Nkunku is given his opportunity, because the last thing I would like to see is Carlo not really trusting Niles Nkunku and putting Fabian Delph there because he's the easy option. For me, this is a big chance for Nkunku now, a massive chance for him to get his opportunity to play a run of Premier League games and show what he can do and show his quality. If he can't do that, and if he appears to not be good enough, then you bring a Fabian Delph in and say, right, okay, well, Nkunku's had 2 or 3 games there. He hasn't played brilliantly, so we're going to put Delph in as a security option. You don't put Delph in at the start, because then what you're saying to Nkunku is, you're not even our second choice left back, ideally, so he may as well be in the under-23s, or he may as well be on loan if that's the case. So for me, I do think it'll be Nkunku, because he has played in the Premier League game before and he was given that responsibility and he didn't do poorly, to be fair. So I've gone Nkunku at left back. I've gone for a back three of Mason Holgate, Ben Godfrey and Michael Keane as 3 centre-halves. Now, I've taken Yerry Mina out because I think he was poor last week. I think he was really poor last week, and I think there's only so many Yerry Mina poor performances that we can put up with. Yerry Mina was poor against the side in Fulham, who don't create an awful lot, and let's be honest, haven't got an awful lot of quality going forward. We're playing a team on Saturday, tomorrow night, in Leeds, who are good going forward, do create chances, can hurt sides, and I just don't think we can afford another Yerry Mina absolute, shocking game. Now, don't get me wrong, Yerry Mina is capable of putting in very good performances. We saw it against Brighton before the international break. He was absolutely brilliant, but he's also capable of putting in absolute stinkers, and if he has a stinker tomorrow, Leeds could run away with this quite comfortably. And if this goes to 3-4-1 to Leeds, then it's game over. I know we've got a very good attack, but mentality wise, our heads will drop, it's game over. So I've gone for Michael Keane and Ben Godfrey. Again, they weren't perfect last week, let's be perfectly honest. They weren't perfect, but they've done okay. Ben Godfrey's still coming into his own, and obviously he's been played out of position for most of the time he's been at Everton Football Club so far. Michael Keane, I think, has been our best centre-half over the last 6 months or so. And I've gone with Mason Holgate in there. Obviously, he played against Manchester United a couple of weeks ago, and he wasn't great. And I do put that down to the fact that he was rushed back into the team. I don't think he was fit. Carlo Ancelotti said today that this defence needs balance, that this Everton team needs balance. Mason Holgate, for me, is that defender that brings balance. He's our best centre-half by what is a mile for me. He's so composed on the ball. He's good, he's strong, he's big, he's good in the air. He gets the ball, he moves it out, and he brings that balance to this Everton side. And if he's fit, which we would like to hope he is, because he's had, 2 weeks since that Manchester United game. He hasn't picked up any injuries. He's been training. I don't think he didn't go out on international duty. So, for me, I put Mason in there next to Michael Keane and Ben Godfrey. And then I put Alex Iwobi at right wing back. Listen, Alex Iwobi's another sort of situation where you just don't know what you're going to get. He was absolutely brilliant last week, but there's been games in which he's been absolutely shocking. And I just have this mad feeling that Alex Iwobi's going to step in there at right wing back tomorrow, have a shocker, and everyone's going to go, oh, what's he doing there at right wing back? But ultimately, he was brilliant last week. He was absolutely brilliant. Like Cal quite rightly said, if it wasn't for Dominic Calvert-Lewin being as good as he was, and Abdoulaye Doucouré ultimately scoring the winner, Alex Iwobi was man of the match all day. He was absolutely fantastic. Not only going forward in that first half, but the defensive work he done in the second half, which was exactly what was needed as well. So that's my goalkeeper and back four. I've gone for Jordan Pickford and Nkunku at left back, Holgate, Keane and Godfrey through the middle with Iwobi at right wing back. Go on then, mate. Fire away. Let's hear yours.
Right, so mine is going to be set up in the 4-3-3 because I feel like that's the way we come out in the game. But yeah, it does switch into that 5 at the back when we're defending. So what I'm going for is we've got Jordan Pickford in goal. I've said it I've wrote an article about a predicted lineup for Prince Rupert's Tower. You can read it later, where I'll go into much more detail than we can on this stream if you want. Yeah, but what I'm saying is Pickford is we need to keep giving him opportunities, because if his head drops, then he's going to turn into the old Jordan Pickford. And don't get me wrong, we've got Robin Olsen, but both of those goalkeepers at the best, Pickford is the clear better choice. Pickford, on his day, at his best, is one of the best goalkeepers in the Premier League. And people might not like to realise that because he's got a mistake or two in him. But I feel like that's more Pickford's mentality. And I do think that Olsen's the safer option. Leeds are a team that like to get in the penalty area and take the shots. They don't like to take unnecessary shots. They like to get in the penalty area and get shots. And I feel like in those situations, Olsen will do better. I feel like he's better in the penalty box. He's a better one-on-one goalkeeper than Pickford. But we just need to keep giving Pickford opportunity. And eventually he will turn it around, I hope. Having a manager like Ancelotti help him out. Tim Howard's back linked with the club. He can give him some advice. Pickford needs these chances. And don't get me wrong, if we get to, Christmas time and he's just not doing it, then bring Olsen in. But until then, we need to keep giving Pickford chances. Right back, I've gone for Ben Godfrey. Listen, I think he was quite good against Fulham. Yeah, he gave the penalty away, but either way, if you watch it, he was either letting Loftus-Cheek get past him and then have a chance, or he was giving the penalty. And what I said was, listen, let's put some respect on Ben Godfrey and say he tackled Loftus-Cheek in the penalty area on purpose because he knew Fulham are awful at penalties, and clearly he was right because that was the Lookman penalty. But you're going a centre back to Michael Keane and Mason Holgate. Listen, I've said it on a few previews before. There's clearly a communication issue between Mina, Digne, not Digne. Actually, Mina and Digne are the only two that seem to communicate. But Keane can speak to Coleman, Digne, Pickford, and then there's just Mina who seems to only speak to Digne. And without Digne, to be honest, Mina's hopeless at centre back. Because if you've seen it before, it's a bit weird to watch. But Digne literally screams at Mina sometimes, and you can watch it. And I don't know if it's the Barcelona link, but Mina seems to listen to Digne. But Holgate, Godfrey, Keane, Pickford, all English. There's going to be no communication problems. They can all understand each other properly. But I also think you need two mobile centre backs around Michael Keane to give Keane the time to pick a pass out, to place his tackles. We're playing a fast counter-attacking team in Leeds, so having three at the back is going to be very important to us to just make sure we don't run into any issues where they can catch us. And Michael Keane's come forward for a corner, and then all of a sudden Ben Godfrey's got to do it all by himself. He'll have Holgate with him. He'll have Iwobi with him if Iwobi tracks back, and he'll have the left wing back Niles and Nkunku. Personally, I don't see a point in playing Fabian Delph if we're playing wing backs. Don't get me wrong, he did well for Guardiola, but I don't think I think his legs have gone a bit more sincere. Yeah. And Nkunku's perfect. As I've said, he's more athletic than Digne. Digne is deceptively athletic for his size, his ability to win the ball in the air, his speed. No one understands how quick Digne is, but Nkunku is just a raw athlete. And that's helped his footballing ability so much. He'll be able to perform those overlaps with Richarlison much quicker than Digne can. And don't get me wrong, he can't swing the same ball in that Digne can. He can't play the same pass that Digne can. But that will trouble, if it's Ayling on the right, Stuart Dallas comes and does some tucks in on the right. It's going to trouble those Leeds players because Leeds don't really have a really quick defender to keep up with what we have. So we need to take advantage of that. So what I've gone for is Pickford, Godfrey, Keane, I was going to say Mina, Holgate and Nkunku.
There you go. He's right. Again, like you said, and some people say, Wayne says in the live comments, don't want to see this far at the back. Nonsense, they get moved and swapped too much. And it could potentially be a back to four at the back with, Godfrey at right back and Nkunku at left back with Holgate and Keane at centre half, or even Mina at centre half, depending on who Carlo goes for. But again, I just think the wing backs worked so well last week against Fulham in the first half. I think Nkunku's better as a wing back, and I think Iwobi's better as a wing back. And if we're going to create, we did create an awful lot from those positions last week. But ultimately, again, formation is one that you could sit here and discuss all day, because Carlo's used the 4-3-3, he's used the 4-4-2, he's used the 5 at the back formation. So ultimately, we're just sort of picking out the players and then guessing at a formation, because we haven't really kept with one strong formation throughout Carlo's tenure at the football club so far. We've chopped and changed it a little bit. Going into the midfield then, given I've gone for a 5 at the back with 3 in the midfield, I've gone for Abdoulaye Doucouré, James Rodriguez and Alan. I think James is very, very good when he's allowed in the centre of the park. Carlo was asked about his positional wise today, and he says, look, he plays on the right of an attack when we haven't got the ball. When we've got the ball, he plays anywhere. He just basically finds the space. He's free to do what he wants, and we know that anyway. And, you know, James is a very, very good player. I'm hoping, like we said earlier on in the stream, that this week he'll be a lot fitter, obviously, because he's had that week's rest. He hasn't just been on an international break. He hasn't just been away with Colombia. So hopefully we'll see a much fitter James Rodriguez. We'll see a James Rodriguez that can perform over pretty much the entirety of the game rather than 60-70 minutes. Next to him, I've gone with Doucouré and Alan. Thought Doucouré was very, very good last week. Passing-wise, he was very, very good. They both did allow Fulham, for me, a little bit too much space in the middle and a little bit too many opportunities to break through us. But other than that, Doucouré was very good on the ball. His passing range was good. He got the winning goal, of course. And Alan, for me, again, maybe was struggling a little bit because of the lack of fitness and coming back from the international break. So hopefully, there's no excuse now for the likes of Alan, for the likes of James, for the likes of Richarlison. There's no excuse for those players to pull up on 60-70 minutes and say I'm tired. They have to be able to go out there and do it for 90 minutes unless an injury is occurred, which in that case, you know, obviously it'll be evidently clear. So that's my midfield 3. Carl, I've gone for James, DCL and Alan. Who's in yours?
I've gone with Doucouré, Alan, and Alex Iwobi. Listen, first to talk about Alex Iwobi, I feel like a genius after last week. You know, saying give Alex Iwobi a chance to play centrally and he'll impress. You know, he was people say he was a wing back, but if you know when we were attacking, he moved more centrally. And what I said exactly, give him room to dribble, room to play those passes, where he's stuck pushed against the wing, and he can impress. And you know, he did that. I feel like we need to keep giving him these opportunities. And don't get me wrong, you know, if he can keep playing like that, you know, we might not need this go in January. But I think for now he's a placeholder. You know, play that right wing back role. You know, to be said, if he keeps playing like this, it might even take Coleman a bit more effort to get into the squad. But Iwobi's one big problem has been consistency. So I don't want to say he's guaranteed to play like that again. We don't know with Iwobi. All I can do is hope. Next to him, I've got Alan, you know, who's going to sit back, play more defensively. But I think he was impacted last week. You know, he gave the ball away way too much, in my opinion. You know, he seemed to get bullied a little bit by the Fulham players sometimes. And don't get me wrong, he's not the biggest man, but he usually knows how to use his body to keep the ball. But yeah, he still did what he usually does. He won possession back. He drove it up the field. But, you know, I feel like he can improve against Leeds. I feel like we do need to press in the midfield a lot more, especially against Leeds. If, you know, in the midfield, we need to try win the ball back quickly, and if not, people need to get back and try and help the defence, you know, because it is, brutally honestly, it's a shoddy defence. You know, don't get me wrong, Holgate could be the missing ingredient, but I don't think Holgate's still personally at 100%. Yeah, I think he's getting closer and closer, but it's now to that point where he's not 100% just because he needs more playing experience now. You know, he needs to get back in the side, you know. It's a new system for Holgate, so he needs to get used to it instead of just being chucked into it. And then I've got Doucouré, who, you know, if part of me does think he outperformed Calvert-Lewin, but, you know, then you watch all the fouls Calvert-Lewin won, how he came deep to win the ball for us towards the end of the game, and that swayed me, you know. Let me see if I can get it off the cuff of my head. Doucouré was first in what it was touches, pass completion, interceptions, you know. It's what we signed him for, to be a box-to-box midfielder. I feel like maybe this system gets the most out of Doucouré. It gives him more room in the middle to work with. He can play plays in. He's given more time on the ball. And that's what he needs. In the end, we still paid 20 million for him. That's a 20 million pound signing. We need to fit his needs too. You know, he plays our system. He doesn't complain. So, you know, Ancelotti rewards him with more touches, and it clearly worked because, you know, he was fantastic. Yeah. And yeah, so that's my midfield. I've gone for Doucouré, Alan, and Iwobi.
There you go. Then I have got a question to ask you on the back of that, because that leaves 2 players left. Have you got 2 or 3?
3.
Oh, you've got 3. Oh yeah, because you only went 4 at the back, didn't you? Okay.
Yeah.
My question. I was going to say where's James, but my question's out the window because you got 3.
Yeah. So Iwobi will tuck back in. So when we're coming forward, Iwobi will come in the middle, play that central midfield, get forward. Then when we're defending, Iwobi tucks into that right wing back, and Godfrey comes into the middle.
Makes sense. We'll get into our forward line in a second then. I want to get them back in the live comments so we can keep up to them. Listen, if you're enjoying, please do hit that like button. It does only take a second. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe as well. Share the stream. Let's try and get as many people involved as possible. Joe says, if Jess needs any rebranding for their social media business, give us a shout, lad. Thank you very much. I'll speak to her after the stream and let her know. Cheers, Joe. Really appreciate that. Santiago says, Leeds are good at transitions and making goals. They are way too fast. Their defence is their weakness. I think we will struggle. For me, a tie is good. However, we should win for the bad results we have had. Spot on. Big Nozzle says, let's be positive, boys. We do leak goals, but we can score against any team. If we get it together defensively against Leeds, we will win this game. I agree, mate. I agree. Semi says, greetings, gents. Let's smash Leeds is right. Big Nozzle says, Pickford and Kunku, Holgate, Keane, Godfrey, Iwobi, Alan, Decore, James, Richie, and DCL. I think that's pretty much the team that we've both gone for as well.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go. Semi says, Delph's not being a total embarrassment, but I agree, mate. Giving Kunku his opportunity. There you go. I agree. Spot on. Big Nos is going for 4-1. Semi says 4-3 for me. Leeds have no trouble finding the back of the net against our poor defence. Wim says, how's everyone doing, Cam, lad? I'm not too bad, mate. Hope you're doing well yourself. Big Nos says, we could surprise ourselves and defend if we do. No trouble beating Leeds. Well, that's going to be the big talking point, is can we go out there and keep a strong back line and ultimately put in a good defensive performance. If we can, then I think we'll be okay tomorrow. Semi says, Dean's perfect crosses into the box will be missed. And Big Nozzer says, no negative waves, boys, we will be okay. You're spot on. We're going to talk a little bit more about Dean before we finish the stream up in a little bit, and how we are going to miss him and his creativity. Going into our forward lines then, I've obviously only got two, because I went with the 5 at the back with the 3 in the middle. So I've gone for Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison. Not much explanation needed here. Dominic Calvert-Lewin is on absolutely firing form, one of the best strikers in the world currently, probably arguably even the best in the Prem. I know Harry Kane will probably have something to say about that, but I don't care. He doesn't play for Everton. And Richarlison is the key to Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Big Kevin Campbell said it himself when he was on the channel a couple of weeks ago, and we saw that within 42 seconds of the game against Fulham. It took 42 seconds for Richarlison's creativity, for his directness, and for his ability to give Dominic Calvert-Lewin his opening goal. So there's my front two. I think if we can get these front two in the game, we can create opportunities for them. We can give them the ball facing Leeds' goal. I think we'll create constantly, and I am confident that they'll be able to get a couple of goals, and that we will be able to hurt Leeds defensively. Like we said, it's going to be about keeping a strong defence ourselves, but again, a fit Dominic Calvert-Lewin and a fit Richarlison, as long as they've got that creativity around them with James, I think they could have a field day tomorrow. Obviously, the lack of having Luca Dean there is going to be a big issue, but obviously we can't really help that. So I've gone for DCL and Richarlison. Who have you gone for, mate?
I've gone for the usual front three we've had. That's Richarlison, Calvert-Lewin, and James Rodriguez. And going into this 5 at the back, like Cammy said, James Rodriguez is basically a free roam.
Yeah.
He can play where he wants. So in the end, James will probably tuck into the middle. That's easy. Iwobi take that right-hand side to himself. But, I feel like, especially with Calvert-Lewin this year, his improvement's been insane. I watched his improvement, but when I was writing the article yesterday, and I just went into look into that fine line about it, you realise how much he has improved. Yeah. I was sucked into that stupid XG stat, and I was just, I don't understand how they measure it, but according to that, Calvert-Lewin's only supposed to have 7 goals this year, and he scored 10. That's not an insult at Calvert-Lewin. That shows how good he has been. He's finished chances he shouldn't been, especially since last year he was supposed to have scored 16. He only scored 13. He's flipped the problem. He went from not putting away chances he should be finishing to putting away chances he shouldn't be finishing. One of those is probably the goal against Liverpool where he's leaping over defenders like it's easy. He just knows where to position himself now. He's that athletic striker. It's been said by a few people, so I don't feel stupid saying it. He's the closest athlete we've had to Cristiano Ronaldo in the Premier League since he left. As a striker, that aerial reach, that he's got that finishing touch. Ian Wright even compared that finishing touch to his own. So if Ian Wright's saying you've both got a similar finish, then you've got to take that as a compliment. And Calvert-Lewin's only 24.
Yeah,
he's only gonna get better. That's how it works. And I don't even have to talk about Richarlison really, man. He came in and Fulham were worried about him. Gave Calvert-Lewin a complete open box. Bang, 1-0 within 40 seconds. It shows how important he really is. And as I said it in my article, the most important thing about Richarlison is his off-the-ball movement, his ability to pull players away, to give James and Calvert-Lewin space, even to give Nkunku space for the overlap, even to give Decore space. He gives everyone space, and he's willing to get back in defence, so Nkunku isn't going to be defending that left-hand side by himself. He's going to have Decore and Richarlison supporting him. But what we want this weekend is goals, to put it simply. We want to butcher Leeds. Look at it. If Palace can put 4 past you, why can't we put 10 past you? I don't think we will. But God, I could see, brutally honestly, if Leeds come out in the same way they played against Palace, I think confidently we'll put 6 past them. If we come out playing like first half and just don't take the foot off the gas, that's what we need to do. Don't get me wrong, it might lead to players getting tired and it might lead to substitutions. But in the end, if we have to make substitutions in the 60th minute, but we're 5-1 up, Leeds, don't get me wrong, they can score, and I'm not going to jinx it and say they can't score 4 in 30 minutes against us, but it's going to be a very hard situation for them. So we just need to have the foot on the gas, full speed the entire game, and take it to Leeds, because the way you beat Leeds is playing Leeds' style better than them, and that's how Brendan Rodgers worked against them, and it's even how Roy Hodgson worked against them. He used players like Eze to abuse Leeds and stuff like that. Eze's been a great signing. We have talent better than Eze. We have James, Richarlison, Calvert-Lewin. But one thing to point out as well is the way Leicester used Jamie Vardy. Throughout the entire game, Jamie Vardy went back, 4 or 5 years to where he just run. That's what Calvert-Lewin needs to do. I know he can drop deep, win the ball, play it to our wingers, but in this game I feel like Calvert-Lewin just needs to bomb at those centre-backs because they play a man-marking style. So let's face it, if he's being man-marked by Liam Cooper, for example, or Robin Koch, the German one they just signed, they are not physically beating Calvert-Lewin. He's going to outspeed them, he's going to outjump them, he's going to get that. And Meslier, young goalkeeper and experienced. There's a lot in that Leeds back line that this forward line can abuse, and that's what we need to do. We need to abuse that Leeds back line.
Spot on there. Spot on about Dominic Calvert-Lewin as well, by the way. Athletic-wise, he's absolutely fantastic. He's second to none. His leap is, I think, the closest to Cristiano Ronaldo currently, but certainly that I've seen. And the thing is with Dominic Calvert-Lewin that's impressed me the most is that he's improving every single year. Every single year he's improving, and if he carries on like that, he's going to be unbeatable. He's going to be absolutely unbeatable. There hasn't been a season where Dominic Calvert-Lewin hasn't improved in, and that's down to his work rate. That's down to him getting his head down and wanting to win and wanting to improve and wanting to be, the best striker in the world. And Carlo has come in and just absolutely sort of exemplified that. And Carlo Ancelotti was asked about Dom again today, and he just smiles every time he's asked about him. He just smiles because he knows how good this lad is, and he knows how willing this lad is to improve as well. So there you go. There are our predicted starting 11s ahead of tomorrow's game. Let us know your thoughts on them in the comment section down below. I've gone for Pickford, Nkunku, Godfrey, Keane, Holgate, Iwobi, James, Decore, Alan, and Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison, and Alex has gone for the same but within a different style, practically a different formation. So there you go. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below. We'll dive into the comments, and then I do want to talk about Luca Dean before we finish up. Manuel says 3-2 seems pretty realistic. He also says Amina shouldn't play. Where he says we need Keane and Godfrey. Big Nod says you won't see Mina much from now on. He's not good enough for me. There you go. Wayman says we will if we persist with 3 centre-backs. There's too much confusion. Just need to play Godfrey and Keane. There you go. What about Holgate, Wayman? There you go. Johnny says, let's hope Iwobi can perform like last game for a full 90. I hope so. Eugene's going for a 4-0 win. Semi's going for 4-3. Leeds have a solid attack. They certainly do. Johnny says, I see Leeds scoring at least 2. We need to score more, and I'm confident we can win. Big Nose says, Iwobi needs consistency. Let's hope Carlo can bring it out. Carlo said today, look, he's a player that plays with confidence, and when he's confident, and when people around him are confident, i.e. his teammates and his manager, he's a very, very good player, but he needs to keep that up. Semi says, in Don Carlo we trust. We certainly do. Wimmy says, if he is a right wing back, sell him. We are changing formation to suit Iwobi if we stay with the predicted. I just think he's a player that we get hammered down that right hand side. Iwobi can't defend really. We ain't beating no one. Nothing, nil. Eugene maybe 4-2, but we ain't stop conceding our standard 2 anytime soon. Blind luck. Well, I think the thing is with Iwobi is, again, like Carlo said, he's a player that when he's playing with confidence is very, very good. But he has to be playing with confidence constantly, and he has to keep up those level of performances. He has to be consistent. Ultimately, what we don't want is Iwobi to step in tomorrow and put in another Iwobi performance that we've seen far too many times before, where everyone goes, "Oh, last week was a one-off." I want to see Iwobi put in the same performance, if not better, than he did last week. So we all sit here and go, "There you go, that's what he can do." I want to talk about Luca Dean then before we finish up, and then we'll give our last sort of summary, and then we'll finish it up. Not only is he a big miss defensively, but going forward, he's a massive miss, isn't he, Cal? 2 assists last week, more assists than any other defender in the Premier League so far this season. He is a big bulk of that creativity, isn't he? To Dominic Calvert-Lewin, to Richarlison, to James, he is a big bulk of that creativity that we have in this team. Are you confident that, I'm not going to say Niles Nkunku can step in and do as good of a job, because that's a lot of pressure on a young lad. Are you confident that Niles Nkunku will be able to step in and sort of hold the fort down a little bit, if you'd like? And ultimately, just how big for you is the loss of Luca Dean to this Everton team, both creatively and obviously defensively as well?
Well, I think it is a big loss. In the end, I love Nkunku. I've raved about him multiple times on this channel. I've raved about him in my articles. I constantly talk about how much of a steal he is, but you've mentioned how tough December is for us. I don't think he's going to be able to handle attacks like Chelsea or even Arsenal if Arsenal come out firing. Don't get me wrong, I feel like we're lucky because I believe we are their game just before they get Pepe back, so they don't have Nicolas Pepe, but they've still got Saka and all these young players who can, Aubameyang, Lacazette. I feel like Nkunku's going to struggle against those teams, but against the teams like Leeds, Burnley, Sheffield United, he has a chance to really cement himself as, if we sell Digne for 70, 80 million to Real Madrid or Barcelona, don't get me wrong, I don't expect Digne to go, I'm not leaving for Real Madrid or Barcelona. If they come in and throw buckets of money at him next summer, I wouldn't blame him for leaving at all. But the one thing we need to do is give Nkunku the chances and to mould him into that left back. Look what we did with Digne. As soon as we got Digne in, we had our Baines replacement. We worked smart. If we've already got a Digne replacement in, it's just, it's working smart. Everton have always had decent fullbacks. We had Unsworth, then Baines. We had someone else between Unsworth and Baines, but it was Unsworth, then we had Baines, then we've had Coleman, we've had, Kenny had those bright spots at first, but they kind of dwindled down.
Gary Stevens in the 80s, loads of them, mate.
Everton have always had good fullbacks. I feel like that's something we've been known for.
Yeah.
And I feel like Nkunku's going to be the same. I think, don't get me wrong, in 3-4 years' time, when I think Digne will be gone by then. We will talk about Nkunku as wow. Look how smartly we replaced Digne. We didn't pay for this guy. All we paid was compensation fees to Marseille to get him in. But I feel like this first stretch is going to be, it's going to be the big test for Nkunku, because if he can handle big teams in the Premier League early, then listen, he's ready to play. Yeah. But don't get me wrong, he won't replace Digne. As I've said, Digne, best left back in the world.
Yeah.
Let's hope he gets it.
Yeah, spot on. It's going to be very, very difficult without Luca Dean, both offensively and defensively. He's a fantastic player. I agree. I think he is definitely up there with the best in world football. Certainly the best in the Premier League. There's nobody even close to him. But we have to be able to put up with that ultimately, and we're going to have to put up with that for at least 2 to 3 months, according to Carlo Ancelotti. So, give Nkunku his opportunity. Let's see what he can do. If he can't perform at that level, then you've always got Fabian Delph to fall back on, and then if not, you've got the January transfer window to maybe bring someone in on a loan in case the Dean injury happens again, or an injury happens to Dean again, should I say. But he's going to be a massive loss, certainly in this game, in terms of the creativity that he could bring. He could really have exploited Leeds' defence. But look, we're in the games that we've saw Niles Nkunku in so far, the Carabao Cup games, he's exploited defence as well. He's been fantastic going forward. He's been really strong. He's creating chances. He's very confident. He believes in his own ability. So let's hope that we see a little bit of that tomorrow going forward, obviously assuming that Niles Nkunku will play. So there you go, just to summarise then, mate. Big game for Everton, desperately need to get the 3 points, don't we? Again, for me, this is going to be a game of who can defend better. If Everton can get a clean sheet, I'm very, very confident. Do I think Everton will get a clean sheet? No, because I think defensively we've got a lot of issues that need sorting out, and that really need to be focused on. I could see this game being 6-6, 5-5, 4-4, 4-3. I'm going to go prediction. I'm going to go 4-3 to Everton. I just think it'll be a high-scoring game, and I think we'll have that little bit of quality just to get over there. But ideally, look, I want Everton to really focus on defending tomorrow, because I think going forward we're very good, and that sort of sorts itself out with the quality of Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison and James. We need to focus on being able to be tight defensively and not giving away any stupid opportunities or stupid goals. So there you go. What are your final thoughts on it then before we finish up the live stream, Cal?
Listen, like I said, I think we need to go out. We need to take a win. We need to take nothing else but a win. That's the team we need to become now. If you want to challenge for Champions League, nothing except a win is acceptable. Shoddy defence or not, we can score goals. If we can't score against Leeds, we don't have an excuse, to put it simply. And I'm hoping for big things. I'm going to say, I feel like we're going to have the same problem as Fulham, and we might fall apart again in the second half because we just might take the foot off the gas. So I'm going to say we take another 3-2 win.
There you go. I'll take that. I'd take that all day. Look, one thing for sure is Leeds are a very, very good side going forward. They create chances. They're very clinical. They showed that on the opening game of the season against the champions. They turned up at Anfield, and let's be honest, they should have won. They lost because of two silly penalties. They've showed in recent weeks that they can be susceptible to big, heavy defeats because of poor defensive play. So we need to make sure that we turn up and at 8 o'clock, 8:30 tomorrow night, we're looking at a big Everton win and a poor Leeds defensive performance, rather than the other way round ultimately, which we are susceptible for because our defence has been poor in recent weeks. So there you go. That is going to do it for this live stream. If you have enjoyed it, please do hit that like button. Big thanks to everybody for getting involved in the live comments as per usual. Really do appreciate all of the support. If you enjoyed the stream, please do hit that like button. It does only take a second if you're new to the channel. Don't forget to subscribe. Big thanks for Loco for Leeds, who was in the live comments. Loco for Leeds, who was in the live comments earlier on. We will have an opposition preview up from him early tomorrow morning. We're going to have the weekly news roundup in about an hour or so. Weekly news roundup, yeah, that's what it's called. Weekly news roundup. Don't even know the name of my own show. Weekly news roundup within the next hour or so. We had a little video up earlier on where I went down to the new Everton mural in Liverpool City Centre, L1. It's absolutely fantastic. Check that out. It's only a couple of minutes long. We showcase it, we talk about it, and it's all over our social media as well. If you haven't seen it, I'm sure you all have. Anyway, listen, a big thanks for watching. Massive thanks if you're watching in the YouTube comments as well. Leave your thoughts in the comments and we'll get involved with as many of them as possible. Semi says DCL. Using says, do you think he'll win the Golden Boot this season? Too early to say, but I think he's definitely a contender for it. There's other players in the Premier League, though, like Harry Kane, who are absolute SH1T hot. I'm trying to tone down on the swearing because YouTube's just gone proper harsh on the swearing. You literally can't even fart, and it's like, bang, no, demonetized. But he's definitely in with a chance. Johnny says the defence can play a decent disciplined game. We've got this to see James, DCL, and Richarlison in a breakout game. Spot on. Big Nod says DCL's a prime example of what a top-class manager can do, turning a good player into a class player. Carlo, fantastic. Oh, you're absolutely spot on, mate. Ewan says, do I think DCL will get a hat-trick tomorrow? There's a possibility. Wayne says he can see him playing Godfrey at left back. Don't know, I like Holgate, but I really think both him and Keane look nowhere near as confident at left centre back. I thought we got Godfrey for that reason. Iwobi is not a right wing back for me, not fast enough. Fair enough. Wayne says Nkunku is going to be a good baptism of fire. I hope so. Big Nod says great show again, Cam. Best Everton show on YouTube, mate. Keep up the good work. Thank you very much, mate. Really do appreciate that one. Jab says he was terrified with Dean in the side. I was worried with Dean in the side. Now I'm terrified. Here you go. Semi says 4-3, my prediction. Cheers. Wayne's hoping for a 1-0 and 3 points and a clean sheet. Listen, if we get a clean sheet, mate, if we win this game tomorrow with a clean sheet, I'll probably just come on the instant match reaction and talk for 10 minutes about how we've kept a clean sheet. To be honest with you, I'll be that shocked and impressed. Wayne says, good evening, Whammy. He also says, going to be squeaky bums. Jab says, James, Calvert-Lewin and Richie need to stay in their half to nullify their defence going forward. Wayne says, take care, guys. Wayne says, take care. Semi says, great to see him as always. Mama says, see you guys. Ewan says, see about the toffees. Wayne says, don't say, push it. And Harry says, who would you want to sign in January? Well, let's see how we go for the next few weeks. Let's see how we go over the December period, and then we'll sit down and we'll have a little bit of a discussion about that. Listen, Carl, big thanks for joining us once again. Anything to say before we finish up, mate?
Just the usuals, please, check out my Twitter, read my articles. I'll have my own more in detail of what we've just gone in with Fulham versus Everton predicted 11. But yeah, like Cam said, subscribe, it helps massively. And yeah, that's all from me.
There you go. Callum's Twitter will be in the description as well, so definitely go out and check that out. Big game tomorrow. Massive opportunity for Everton to go out and get a big 3 points. I think we can. Like I said, we have to be strong and we have to be tight defensively. And if we are, that's the key to winning this game for me tomorrow. Please do leave a like if you have enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe. We'll be back, obviously, a little bit later on with the weekly news roundup. But in terms of tomorrow, we'll have the oppositional preview out early on in the morning. And then, of course, instant match reaction from myself and Callum, hopefully. And then a player ratings show as well directly after the game. So don't forget to join us for all of that. Let's hope for a win. Big 3 points. Come on, you Blues. Up the Toffees. We'll see you soon. There we go. Thank you very much.